Well, moving on, the Federal Arts Minister, Tony Burke, has, in the last 24 hours, backed Creative Australia. Now, they made a decision to reinstate a controversial artist who created work which featured a Hezbollah leader and referenced the 9/11 terror attacks. Now, an independent review has found there had been, quote, missteps in the earlier cancellation of appointments for the artist Khaled Sabsabi and curator Michael D'Agostino, who are now likely to head off to the Venice Biennale and represent Australia. At one point, our Biennale platform there was going to be completely dark during that actual exhibition. Now, Opposition Arts spokesman and Shadow Attorney General Julian Leeser has slammed the backflip. He's called it damaging to Australia's national values, social cohesion and global reputation. I must say, I tend to agree with him. He joins me now. Julian, welcome. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. Now, Tony Burke addressed this issue. He's asked about it where else but on the ABC. Here's a little bit of what the Arts Minister had to say.
I don't put myself out there as an art critic. But when the criticism that was done at the time said these were not pro-terrorist works, and the artist himself says there is nothing in this that's meant to in any way endorse terrorism, then I don't think politicians can say, well, you're all wrong. Yeah. And it is.
Well, at least Julian, he admits he's not an art critic, but the Minister says these were not pro-terrorist works. Is he right?
Well, the Minister was shocked by these works back in February, and when you look at the works we're talking about a picture of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, an organisation that we list as a terrorist organisation in this country. The picture of Mr Nasrallah is bathed in light. And, you've got another video that is a video of the 9/11 terror attacks with George W. Bush at the end saying, thank you very much. I've seen subsequently other works that Mr Sabsabi has produced, including works of flags of terrorist organisations. He has some form in this regard, and I think these works are shocking. I think what Mr Burke looked at and said in February reflected the views of reasonable Australians who'd be looking at these works. I think their decision to reinstate Mr Sabsabi is wrong.
As someone who is the Shadow Arts Minister, what do you think's gone on in the background here? I mean, I can guess, but I'd like to hear it from you, Julian.
Well, I think these are questions for Tony Burke to explain here. I mean, how back in February could he and the Board of Creative Australia say, and the CEO of Creative Australia say, that we should remove the commission of Mr Sabsabi because they were shocked by these works that had been presented to them, and then subsequently say that he should be reinstated. They got a report into the way in which they'd made decisions, but nothing in that report says that Mr Sabsabi should be reinstated. That was not the recommendation of that report. But somehow he's been reinstated, and I think Mr Burke and Creative Australia have lots of questions to answer.
I mean, we always get arguments from the arts industry and from the left that, you know, art should be able to portray events as they see them. But in this current climate, I mean, you can see how people, including yourself, including myself, and including Tony Burke originally, would be upset with portrayal of such figures in that way at an event which is the biggest Biennale, biggest art function in the world, with Australia's name plastered across the top of it.
Well, that's exactly right, Steve. This is the Olympics of contemporary art. The problem here isn't that Mr Sabsabi's produced this artwork. He's an artist. He has the right to produce whatever work he likes, so long as it doesn't breach the law. But the problem here is that he is being held out as Australia's representative to the world. There will be thousands of people that will see the artwork that he produces. There'll be millions of people who will see media reports of the artwork that he produces around the world. And he's being given taxpayer funding to do this and being held out as Australia's representative. One of the things that was most critical about the report that Creative Australia received was that it was drawn to their attention that they have a responsibility to taxpayers, they have a responsibility to the broad Australian community, and they have to balance that against their responsibilities in relation to the promotion of artwork. And I think the decision that they made in February got that balance right, and I don't understand why they've revoked that decision yesterday.
Yes, they need to come out and explain it, I think. Just before you go, and look, I know you're the father of 2 young children, and I don't intend to ask you about the status of their childcare, but what do you make of this debate today after this shocking story emerged in Victoria this week? This debate today that we need to suddenly change everything. I did make the point at the start of the program that, you know, it's all good and well for the minister to say, oh, well, we've got to crack down, we've got to change things. It shouldn't take an event like we've seen, these horrible allegations, for people to be talking about how childcare should be run and who's working in it, should it?
Well, we obviously need much more stringent requirements around who gets to work in childcare, and that means proper stringent testing. Because like you, Steve, I was absolutely disgusted by these reports and these allegations that have been made, and to think that an individual was able to go across a whole range of childcare centres and commit these crimes allegedly commit these crimes across Victoria, it would send a chill down every parent who's got their child in childcare, because when parents take their children to childcare, they expect that this is one place that they'll be safe. And so we need to make sure that we've got measures in place to help strengthen the ability to guarantee that, and that's important for all of our families.
There's been some calls that males not be permitted to work in childcare. What's your view on that? Do you have one?
I don't think we should ban men from working in childcare, but I do think we need to be much more stringent about who we allow to work in childcare and the questions that we're asking people who go to work in childcare.
Absolutely, and anyone can get a working with child permit. You just don't have to have a criminal record. Julian Leeser, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Steve.